And welcome back to Deep Thoughts 999 series. We just escaped out of the room and we have a giant wall of water coming towards us, and we're desperately trying not to drown.
Does he just not know how to swim, or, well, I guess the fear and the fact that he's still he's a bit wobbly on his knees from waking up.
Yeah, probably got a huge head rush when he woke up.
Well, he got something on his head.
Oh, yeah.
Big lump.
What room did he burst into, I should ask?
It would have been the hallway, because he had his room with a 5, so that implies there's at least 4 other rooms, but, yeah. I don't know what it is, but most of those ships, they have, like, locks on them at points of flooding. But this seems to be more along the lines of a luxury cruise, as opposed to, military-grade ships.
Yeah, now that I think about it, where were all the other players exactly? What rooms were they in that they had to break out of?
I thought it was that they were all in, like, one hall, but, at that point you sort of risk them all coming across each other in the hallway, maybe blocking each other off. So you have this one asshole who kicks the other kid and has him drown in the hallway while the water rushes in. But that's probably the simplest and therefore most likely answer, is that the hallway that the 5 door was in, they were all in that same hallway, so everyone had to go up to the C deck. And Junpei is just a slacker, so...
Or he probably got more of that, the dosage, or the spray into him, so he probably woke up later.
Yeah, and he's also not that big of a guy, so he's probably a bit more susceptible, but there's gonna be people smaller than him, so that's not a good excuse either.
Oh, who are these people?
Well, it is 9 persons, so there's got to be at least 8 more, including Junpei, unless he's a false protagonist and we off him in the first 10 minutes.
Well, that could have very well been the case. He probably could have drowned in that hallway if he tripped and hit his head again, knocked himself out.
Yeah, the guy who's running this game has a lot of confidence in his players that he's willing to be like, all 9 of them have to escape, right? Not one of them's gonna fail. It's like, if one of these people failed, you're gonna see his entire plan would just fall apart.
Oh, God.
Nothing would have worked. So he lucked the fuck out that he actually kidnapped 9 semi-competent human beings.
Well, technically, I would say 8, as we're probably going to see a little later in this episode. But enough of that for now. We just got introduced to a dancer, or a person that Junpei calls dancer.
Yeah, because we don't know their names, and this is... I like how they don't even try that whole dealio where they give them the names before they're introduced, so we gotta go based off of Junpei's mental noted character trait names, because once again, this game is semi-first person, semi-third person, and,
Yeah, it's all from the perspective of Junpei, though.
Yeah.
So we got introduced to, what was his name?
Whitehair,
I think, and here's a lion.
I believe in certain communities it's called a bear, but that's just what I've heard. Oh, and here's the lolly. Here's the lolly that every girl fucking cosplays as whenever they try and do a 999 cosplay. You look it up, it's nothing but fucking short little redhead girls with earmuffs. Like, I'm really disappointed that with how colorful and different the cast is, everyone always cosplays as that girl and no one else. It's very disappointing.
A lot of people, like a lot of reviews, I tend to say that these characters, when they were first introduced, they tend to kind of form into this like typical stereotypes, like of Japanese anime or Japanese culture, and I kind of agree there.
Yeah, no, despite how unique the characters can appear, and there are unique quirks about them, like they're not completely generic archetypes, they will still fall into the archetypes, and they fall into several types of archetypes. Not only do they fall into the traditional anime ones, but the creator when he was describing the characters, he actually described all 9 of them as being each of the enneagram of personalities. So like those internal, external, feeling, judging, like that whole personality quiz matrix. He's actually assigned each of them to the characters. Like I know Junpei is the challenger, and then just all the rest fall in. I'll probably go back to that and go over the other ones as they're more formally introduced. But yeah, I think the more hilarious one is that Kotaru has actually compared all of the 999 characters to Star Wars characters.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. I think I disagreed on a couple of things, but I think they fit them pretty well.
Well, Junpei's Luke Skywalker, so it's like, well, that's pretty obvious.
And isn't this guy right here? I'm just gonna say it right now. This guy on the left is Santa. That's what his name is later. He's compared as a Han Solo, right?
He's the Han Solo.
I thought that was one thing I disagreed with because I'll save it for later because she hasn't been introduced yet.
I disagree.
It's simple to disagree with everything until someone proves you wrong. We just saw there are 2 other doors, one with a 4 and another door with a 5. What could be going on here?
Sort of to set it up as this game's gonna have multiple segments. The first one was just a literal escape the room puzzle for an escape the room game, but now we're gonna get into the game of the Nonary game, which if you know your prefaces, you know that Nona or Noni is 9.
Like Nonagon, is that how you say it? Nonagon?
Yeah, Nonagon.
Nonagon. I say it like Nonagon, so I was thinking like Nonary game. I actually think that's how I first pronounced it when I played this game.
I think I got it right with Nonary the first time, and then of course the sequel also mentions Nonary games, and the second game has actual voice acting. This game does not. Its sequel, Virtue's Last Reward, does, and they repeatedly say Nonary and Nonary game. This one you kind of gotta go off on a whim on how some of the names are pronounced. Like I know you say Junpei differently than I. I say Junpei just because I pronounce it the way it's said in Persona games. So
there's a character named Junpei in Persona?
In Persona 3, Junpei Iori.
Ah, yeah, I've yet to play any of those games. They intrigue me. Like it's kind of like a strategy RPG with the multiple endings route and an interesting story, I would have to say.
It's not as complicated in terms of multiple endings as this game. There's literally good ending, bad ending.
Oh,
that is the extent of Persona endings. The big draws to it are the turn-based combat that has a little bit of strategy to it, and then if you play the waifu simulators, is the dating sim where you get to make friends with everyone and you have to essentially get into the pants of all your female classmates.
Hey, it's Princess Leia.
Speaking of pants.
It
kind of shows just the state that everyone was in when they got kidnapped, that no one really seems all that well dressed for being at sea, except maybe Mountain Dude, because he looks like he has those waterproof overalls. But everyone is either just in casual dress, or in the case of small redhead child, way too much clothing. Like, she looks like she may need to take a layer off or two. Like, earmuffs? Really?
Yeah, well, she does have like around the waist, around the top area, I should say, but towards the bottom, that's actually quite bare.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there, and I'm also gonna put this out like before anyone asks that person with that kind of looks like a stripper. I'm just gonna say that right now, that she's not actually a stripper. She just likes to dress that way.
Yeah, some people just like wearing less clothes than others. Some people have hobbies that include exotic dancing, and you would have to wear the appropriate clothing for it. It's called cultural sensitivity, people. Not everyone has to fit your ideas.
Getting pretty close to this girl.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too that I say I pronounce his name Junpei, but when you had that pronunciation, her nickname gets a bit weird because then it says Junpei instead of Jumpy. So, and so here's what I mean when I say that some of the characters like they're pretty blatantly Japanese, like Akane Kurashiki. That is as Japanese a name as you're going to get. Same with Junpei. I'm not going to say his last name because that is hyper spoilers. Like that is so much a spoiler it extends to other games. But they're very Japanese in like how they act in their name. But there are other characters that mention things that are very American in what they do. So again, not quite sure where their origins are all supposed to be from, because the game is set in a very specific location revealed towards the end.
Which we are not going to spoil for obvious reasons.
This is a really hard game to talk about when like a majority of it can't even be discussed. We're just going to end up spending the entire second game talking about the first game because we couldn't talk about this game while it was going on.
Yeah, it's you may think it's kind of easy to hold back all of this information and to just try to experience this as if this is the first time you're experiencing this game. It's not. When you know everything about a game, you're going to want to talk about it. So holding back is not an easy thing to do because if like one thing slips out, you have to start all over. Like you're completely screwed.
I'm not doing a retake. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure we haven't said anything too exposition-y yet, so I think we're safe.
Whatever. But here's the introduction to the gas mask dude. More specifically, his name as Zero. This has got to tie into the Nonary game. There's going to be lots of numbers, lots of things revolving around 9, and of course, 0 is sort of like a number outside the game. Like, 0 is not technically a counting number, but it still is a number. So I kind of like that there is... I know it's more me reading into it a bit too much, but with the mastermind assigning himself a numeric name, it adds a bit more than you would think. Like, it ties him way closer to his own game, because he could just call himself, like, the master or the voice, but he interjects himself and makes himself a part of the game by naming himself Zero.
Yeah, to those unbeknownst to the game, he might as well just end up calling the Zero game, since he's like the ringleader of the whole thing.
Yeah, it could even have been Zero's game, but actually that could have really worked.
That could have worked. Yeah, that could have worked. That would have made a nice plot twist later. But he ends up, I think he said Nonary game when Junpei was reminiscing about the time he got kidnapped by him. Those were good days, weren't they?
Yeah, this is less of a spoiler, but it's more that to keep your eye out, to know that a lot of stuff repeats in this game. It's a game with multiple endings, but also within like this storyline, there's repeating events, and the numbers will repeat, and events repeat, and so you can sort of get this idea that this isn't the first time this game has been held, and that sort of backs up a lot of ideas that. Like, I know the first time I played, it was like, I missed that, and it contextualizes a lot of decisions made by some of the players in this game, because a lot of them seem to know this game more than others, and it kind of comes off as really weird, like, wait, are you in on this? What?
So here he is, talking about what exactly is going on. I think he explained that the doors with the numbers painted on them, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but he apparently only 3 or 5 people can enter that door, and they all have to have the same digital root as that door. So like if a group with the digital root of 5 can enter into the number 5 door, but like a group with the digital number of 9, they can't enter in the number 5 door, nor the number 4 door. And vice versa, a group with the digital root of 4 can enter the number 4 door.
So it gets a little bit hammy here at the beginning with the number 9, but because the title itself has already told you 9 persons, 9 doors, 9 hours. Zero has told you that this game will end in 9 hours. The goal is to reach a door that has the number 9. The game starts at 9 a.m. So just a lot, but he also, yeah, and it ends
at 6 a.m., which is 9 upside down.
Jeez. Oh, man.
It's as if this game is very scared that you're going to forget what the number 9 is and how important the number 9 is, because the number 9 is very important. In a game named 999, the number 9 is probably going to be very important. So this is just the game reminding you.
Yeah. And also, Junpei is completely clueless. I do enjoy that he is very much an outsider in this game, and he will remain as such. Like, you learn the Nonori game along with Junpei. It's never revealed that, oh, hey, Junpei's known this all along. He just forgot, because anime amnesia. No, he is legitimately this oblivious to everything. He's an adorable college student that just wants to go home and make more cheap ramen.
And I know of a couple of other pieces of media, like video games and television, that do this too. But like you said, you learn as Junpei learns, so you don't get any outside conversations like between this guy and that girl. Like if they were talking a completely separate room from Junpei, you wouldn't see that conversation because Junpei doesn't hear it, so you can't hear it.
Yeah, it sort of helps with the game because with having this big cast, obviously interpersonal relationships are key. And with that comes the ideas of trust. Who do you trust? Who do you ally with? It's not that deep of a mechanic in this game. It's more of something that I know I went through in my head. Just, okay, I trust this character. I'm suspicious of this character. So if the decision comes up, I'll go with this character. It wasn't so much that like you have talking options to side with characters. And the fact that you're getting all of these first-person experiences, you'll come across characters like ending conversations. Characters that are having their conversations and stop, and then hearing third-person accounts of like, oh, they said this, I heard this. So you're just adding this air of doubt to pretty much all the characters, except for Akane. Akane is pretty much kept in a very pure light for Junpei, as she is the only one that he has prior knowledge of.
And thus is the only one that he trusts.
Yeah. I mean, if I was stuck in a ship and I ran into a friend from elementary school, yeah, that'd be the first person who's like, look, you haven't killed anyone since elementary school, right? No? Alrighty. Because you never know, she could have went bat poop crazy and ended up like on a killing spree in middle school and then got turned around. Just because you know someone from your childhood doesn't guarantee you should trust them, but it makes them a much more prime candidate for trust.
A lot of people had pointed out that sometimes in the game, like the tone, it just kind of doesn't really fit well with like the premise, because again, 9 people get kidnapped and put on a ship. But, like, at points in the game, it's like, oh, we're getting along so well. Oh, things are really chummy. Oh, we're just gonna work together and get all this stuff, get out of this ship together. I'm just, like, these people have, except for Junpei and Akane, and I'll say, like, 2 other people, actually, they have never met each other at all. So, I don't think people in real life would probably react that way.
Well, to throw in a mechanic in Virtue's Last Reward, by the logic of game theory, cooperation would yield a guaranteed reward. Maybe a less generous reward, but through cooperation they have a more guaranteed stable reward. So, yeah, while I can see that not everyone should be, everyone should be super anime friend Nakame, like best buddies for life. I agree with that, but there's a certain point where even 9 strangers can recognize the threat, and especially when the threat is like has identified himself, like they know that Zero is the enemy. They may not know who Zero is. Maybe one of them could be Zero. I mean, that also adds to that air of doubt. But the fact that an enemy has been identified as Zero, it's a lot easier for the 9 people to at least cooperate. Maybe not be best friends like they are in this game at times, but the cooperation aspects are not completely unheard of. And within the game, there is a reasonable amount of backstabbing that you would expect from 9 strangers.
Oh yeah. A lot of people also like to compare this game as well as Virtue's Last Reward with Saw.
That was another thing I heard. Yes, that is definitely when I got like that horror analogy was because of Saw. And we haven't really gotten to that point, but there is a fair amount of blood. I mean, for all we know, the 5 on the door could have been the blood itself.
I was actually gonna say that earlier. That they always say it's like, oh, it's just paint. It's not actually blood. If in a place like this, do you really think that they're gonna use paint as just to not murder these doors, especially when it's red? These guys want to set an atmosphere. These guys want to make these people scared. So I like to think that all of these painted numbers are blood. It's just in blood.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, I was going with the idea that gore isn't completely outside. We're going to see it soon, but even within this game, it's already set a mature mood. Well, maybe not the most mature mood, but Santa, I just want to say, is or Silver, whatever. He's very edgy. I mean, he uses grown-up language. He says the F word. Shh. And he's super hardcore edgy, but don't let that fool you. This game has, like, legitimate mature content. It's not just limited to Santa's language and Dancer's choice of wardrobe. Hey, I respect her choice to wear it, but that doesn't mean I can't make fun of it.
Yeah, I do too. I completely agree with you.
And I kind of blew it.
But luckily, Mountain was able to cut her off before she could say anything else. Because these guys actually think that, well, I mean, to be honest, they don't actually know anything, so it's completely reasonable that they think this. But they're thinking that maybe Zero is going to, maybe, I don't know, kidnap their parents or do something to their family if they actually give any personal information away.
I mean, it's reasonable, but at the same time, especially in Junpei's case, we've established that Zero is not beyond breaking and entering. We don't know exactly where the other players were kidnapped, but if Junpei was kidnapped in his apartment, it could be assumed that some of them were also kidnapped in their residence. So Zero can already break and enter, and he knows where they live. So, I mean, revealing the information probably isn't keeping anyone safe. He already knows where they live, but at the same time, you don't want to piss off your captor for sure, because a lot of these characters do have families. Also, here's Santa being a fucking weeaboo. So, do you Baka Gaijins know about anime? So, the number 3 is San. It's like, shut up, Santa. No one gives a crap about your weeaboo bullshit. You chose Santa because of the color white. Don't even.
To be fair, he wasn't actually talking about anime. He was just talking about the Japanese language. So, yeah, I guess you could say that is kind of weeaboo-ish. But if he was saying, like if he had some sort of anime reference to that, that would be completely weeabooish.
I just find it so hilarious. That's his first question. I said, do you guys know about Japanese? It's like, did you not hear that the one girl's name is Akaine? I'm pretty sure she's at least heard Japanese. Maybe once in her life. Yeah,
did you guys know we're trapped on a ship and we might die on this ship? I knew it.
Fucking Santa. Edgy and as blunt as ever.
It's quite smug as well. This is Snake. His name is Snake. He was referred to as Prince earlier because, yeah, he kind of does look like a prince, I guess. I guess princes do wear ties and all that.
Yeah, but he went with Snake, being that his number was 2, and so he went with the dice reference of Snake Eyes, which is when you roll 2 1 dots, so... And then you add in the irony that, ho-ho, he's blind, so Snake Eyes for the blind guy. And Clover.
Yeah, Clover.
Little Miss Popular. Everyone loves themselves some Clover.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying this just because I want to not conform, but Clover isn't my favorite character.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, Clover is definitely not my favorite character.
Definitely not mine. She actually, I want to say that she gets worse as the series goes on.
Yeah. I think it's like, she gets, like, not to spoil anything, but she does get very good character development.
She gets almost as much screen time as Junpei. Like, you could almost consider her the second or maybe even third protagonist. She is up there with the most shit happening to her.
Snake is my favorite character, just to put that out there, because Snake, he's the coolest person ever. I don't care what you say, Snake is just the coolest person ever.
I'm actually a fan of Ace.
I like Ace too. He's
I like Ace. Ace you will see is really interesting to me, and he looks like a badass from the get-go to me. You know, just this older dude in a trench coat. It's like, fucker means business. When's he gonna pull out the Tommy gun?
So, they have named 8 people, or they've gotten 8 code names out, except for this man, who we've referred to as Bird's Nest, because his hair looks like a bird's nest.
Oh. I forgot that he actually got that kind of name, because I know that he's only referred to as the 9th man. He's not really one for code names, and so Junpei, being ever so polite, doesn't push Bird's Nest as his official. Plus, what would a Bird's Nest have to do with 9 anyways?
Well, here goes Clover being all sassy. What number are you?
Well, let's use logic here, Clover. Okay, to be fair, there's 2 options. He can be 9 or 0. Because you never know.
That's probably... If he was 0, that would make sense as to why he's so nervous. But he's nervous either way. He's just basically... is there a stereotype for, like, the nervous guy in Japanese anime or something, or culture?
The nerd.
Oh, the nerd. Well...
The nerd? But I think that would also be kind of a dick move on Zero's part if he actually brought in 10 people and just strapped 0 on one of the guys. Like, so this one guy who actually isn't even in on anything gets the 0 and he's like, what the fuck?
And then throughout the game he's just trying to hide it, and then once everyone realizes, they just beat the ever-loving shit out of him.
So it turns out it was actually 5.
Oh no! What's he doing?
He's touching a girl inappropriately. Quick, call the police and get an adult! 0, you're just gonna let this happen? This isn't part of your game, bro.
Well, he's not necessarily groping her, but yeah, I wouldn't consider that...
Bad touch?
Yeah, probably. Stranger danger. Oh.
How did he get a knife? Why does no one else get... No one else has got to pack any sort of heat, because that would make the game super unfair if Ace, like I said, pulled out his Tommy gun. And I'm wondering where the hell he got that knife. The most we got in our room was a bunch of cards. I mean, maybe we could throw them at somebody.
Yeah, so, when I was, when the first time I played this, I was, I think I felt some sort of distress towards this. Like, I mean, who wouldn't feel distress towards a man holding a girl hostage with a knife to her throat? But it wasn't not necessarily freaking me out though, but it was tense.
It's a good tone setter. Like, this whole section of the game, like I said, so far every piece of the game has served a very good purpose. You had that intro cutscene that gives you a little bit of information that the characters don't have, and that is important because it gives you this sort of sense of understanding, whether it be true or not, but just to give you that sense. Then you had that prologue escape the room section to get you into the mindset of how to do the puzzles. Now we're getting into the actual tone of the game, because I mean, yeah, being locked in a room, that can explain a lot, that can set up a lot, but now that we're getting into the actions that people are going to, or the people's actions because of their situation, that's going to build a lot. So we're seeing how desperate the situation is by the character's actions, and it's really effective to show, you know, a child in danger. It's cheap, but it's effective. And like I said, if Santa's naughty language didn't let you know that this was a mature enough game, then, you know, the implied blood on the walls, the whole you've been fucking kidnapped, you're gonna die, and then now add in that the threat isn't just Zero or the drowning, but is the very people you are being held captive with. You know, you gotta add essentially more razor blades to the trap.
I just want to address the part where you called Clover a child. She's actually, and I quote from the creator himself, what's his name? Kotaro Ukaz something.
I just call him Kotaro.
Okay, Kotaro. I quote from him, Clover is 18, but she's still in high school. So technically she's an adult?
Fucking anime. Can Japan just not get people's ages? Oh, you know that means that Clover is older than Jotaro. That doesn't fucking jive with my brain. Like, I guess I could see why, because then you make the lolly stuff legal, which, naughty, no, shame on you. But that is the only reason I could see for doing that, because making her young, the age I had perceived, kind of actually works in the game's favor in terms of some narrative areas. Because making her 18 is kind of puts her in a, kind of adds a sort of plot hole.
I guess you could say that. I mean, I really don't see too much of a problem with him saying that she's 18, because, well, I don't think it affects the plot that much.
Well, it doesn't affect it, just it raises a question. Which, in this game, there's already like a million, so just throw it in the pile with the rest of them, just saying that it seems kind of odd that you have a lot of things working towards a character being perceived as one thing, and then just say, oh, no, actually, it's this. It's a little off, but hey, nothing too off for Zero Escape.
So, as you can probably tell, the ninth man's plan was to use Clover to add on to his number, and then use Ace to add on to all the other numbers, because the digital root of 14, which is what you get if you get 9 plus 5 plus 1, is 5. And with that, he's going to escape.
So at least we know that the ninth man is competent at math. Again, nerd!
Nerd. So we have here a very suspenseful situation. What's going to happen to the ninth man? What's going to happen to everyone else? You'll have to find out on the next episode of Deep Thought.